calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ananya Datta and I'm back with another edition of Race to Power. Let's start talking about people, power and politics. Here's what's coming up in the next 30 minutes. It has been a month since elections in Venezuela. The incumbent is struggling to prove his legitimacy and the opposition is running from an arrest warrant. We tell you what might come next for Venezuela. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are wooing the swing states in the United States. It will all come down to just 7 states. About 2 months to go, we take you to the campaign trail. More than a month since Venezuela conducted elections and its results continue to make waves in the South American nation. As Venezuelan authorities tighten the noose around opposition presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez, global powers are not taking kindly to incumbent leader Nicolas Maduro's re-election. Here's a report.
A Venezuelan court has issued an arrest warrant for opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez amid a dispute over whether he or President Nicolas Maduro won the country's presidential election in late July. News of the warrant came from the country's Attorney General's office on Monday, which shared a photo of the document with Reuters. The warrant accuses Gonzalez of conspiracy and other crimes. Maduro spoke on state television after news of the warrant broke, calling Gonzalez a, quote, cowardly man. An arrest warrant against Gonzalez would amount to a major escalation in Maduro's government's crackdown against the opposition following the disputed July 28th election, which has included detentions of opposition figures and protesters. Venezuela's National Electoral Authority and its top court have said Maduro won with just over half of the votes, but but tallies shared by the opposition show a resounding victory for Gonzalez. The opposition, along with some Western countries and international bodies like a United Nations panel of experts, have said the vote was not transparent and demanded publication of full tallies, with some outright decrying fraud. A Gonzalez spokesperson said they were awaiting any notification of a warrant, but made no further comment. The opposition has denied any wrongdoing. The warrant request came hours after the Biden administration said an aircraft used by Maduro had been confiscated in the Dominican Republic. Washington determined that its purchase violated U.S. sanctions, while the Venezuelan government slammed the move as an act of piracy.
Now, according to U.S. Justice Department, the aircraft was illegally purchased for $13 million through a Caribbean-based shell company and smuggled out of the United States. The U.S. says that in late 2022 and early 2023, individuals linked to Maduro allegedly used the shell company to conceal their involvement in the illegal purchase of the jet. Addressing the matter, the Dominican Republic government has denied any involvement in the investigation and that the authorities have only complied with the legal requests received from Washington.
Neither the Dominican government nor the public prosecutor's office participated in the United States investigation. It was only this international legal cooperation that was required. And since the aforementioned norms were followed and court orders were obtained, the public prosecutor's office complied with what was ordered by the courts.
President Nicolas Maduro, his associates and Venezuela's oil sector are under heavy U.S. sanctions. The concerns of Venezuela's poll mandate stemming from claims of an unfair election has raised the prospects that Washington could impose further measures. And to take this story further, we are being joined by Diego Soera from Caracas. He is a political analyst, journalist and a columnist. Thank you so much for joining us here on WION.
Thank you.
Mr. Soera, what do you make of the situation that Venezuela is currently in?
Well, currently we are in a I dare to say, sort of improvised regime change attempt after the tour de force we had during the elections fizzled out. So the examples of what you already reviewed tells us they need to keep the steam going some way or another, and mostly based because there's no actual turmoil or major conflict going on in the streets of Caracas or any other Venezuelan city. So this kind of explains this situation we're currently going through after, of course, the United States and the powers that be are not happy with the electoral results of the last July the 28th.
Right, Mr. Soera, you say that they want the steam to be going. Does the United States have any vested interest in this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they always have. There are many reasons why they're interested in this. I mean, there's no secret that even from the earliest stages of the Bolivarian revolution, I mean, I'm going back 25 years here, especially after 2001 onwards, Venezuela has been an issue for the United States precisely because of not lining up with their own strategic interests, or to be more accurate, solely and exclusively under their own strategic interests. So this has been a continuum ever since, during the whole Chavez years, and it got intensified and worsened during the Maduro years, which are already reaching the 11 years and the third mandate. So it's in that context that all of this is going on, and of course it has at least three obvious reasons. One of it, of course, it's the Venezuelan resources, oil, gas, and rare earth. The other one, it's to discipline the population and to not set up an example of a possible alternative to the Washington consensus in our hemisphere.
Right, Mr. Soera, I want to go back to a point you made earlier, that the streets of Caracas, nothing's really happening there. As a matter of fact, the opposition leader, Edmundo Gonzalez, who has claimed that he has won the elections this year, is on the run. And if I could also bring you some stats here, according to Gallup, 26% of Venezuelans say that they have confidence in elections honesty, 26%. 68% say that they are struggling to afford food in Venezuela. 54% say that they do not feel safe on the same streets that you say nothing is happening. What do you make of that then?
Well, first of all, are they safe in any third world country or city? I mean, you can throw those stats anywhere else and it's going to say the same thing. Think about, for example, let's think about a very classic example. Think about Rwanda, which actually has a president that has over 30 years in power, who just got an election of 99%, and the streets aren't also either safe in there, in Kigali, for example. So what's the thing here? This is for sure, this is cherry picking. And also, I don't know the precise standards of Gallup. One thing is to say that there's no major turmoil in the streets, and a very different one to say that everything is perfect, which of course it's not, and that's not what I try to say anyway. So if you're gonna address Venezuela key issues currently, there are many, of course, we've been dealing through, including a 11-year sanctions program and each and every set of boycotts ever since. So in that sense, of course, nothing is going to be perfect. The Venezuelan state is not allowed properly to actually manage itself and to take revenue of their own resources. And of course, you're going to expect that. Now, from what date is this Gallup poll, and why it was above a 50% participation during elections? Just let me know how many people participate in the European elections, how many participate in France or Germany, for that matter. So it's, regardless of that perception, 60% of the Venezuelan voting population voted in the last election.
All right, Mr. Soera, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and getting us your insights.
Thank you.
Let's refocus now. The United States is just over 2 months away from finding out who its next president will be. In the critical phase of election campaigning, Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris was joined by incumbent President Joe Biden at a rally in Pennsylvania.
Remember Trump, for 4 years, promised every month infrastructure week. For 4 years he promised that. He didn't build a damn thing. Nothing. I mean, not nothing. Let me just say, it means so much to be with a true friend, the Vice President and the next great President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
U.S. Steel is an historic American company, and it is vital for our nation to maintain strong American steel companies, and I couldn't agree more with President Biden. U.S. Steel should remain American-owned and American-operated. And I will always have the back of America's steelworkers. And we know this is going to be a tight race to the very end. It's going to be a tight race to the very end. So let's not pay too much attention to those polls, because as unions and labor knows best, we know what it's like to be the underdog, and we are the underdog in this race.
On Monday, which also marked Labor Day celebrations in the United States, the duo addressed hundreds of working-class voters in the battleground state. This is the first time that Joe Biden has made an appearance at a campaign pit stop since he stepped aside from a re-election race and made way for Harris as his successor. Since officially becoming presidential candidate for the Blue Camp, Harris has intensified her election rallies. In a short while from now, the vice president will be commencing her reproductive rights bus tour, which begins in political rival Donald Trump's hometown in Palm Beach, Florida. Harris is expected to make a pit stop in 50 locations over the next 2 months as she addresses the debate around reproductive rights in America. Abortion became a key issue on the ballot following protests in 2022 after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the ruling on Roe v. Wade that upheld abortion rights for almost 50 years. And to get us the latest, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York. Susan, good to see you. What is the latest you can tell us?
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is the reproductive tour of the Harris-Walsh campaign, and abortion has been really a key point for the Democrats. After immigration and economy, it's the third most important for voters. And since the Democrats really at this point with President Biden's administration don't have the best record when it comes to the economy and immigration, notably security at the southern border, then abortion becomes a key issue. When we see the gender gap, supporters for Harris and Donald Trump, predominantly women support Harris, according to polls, and she is marginally higher in polls than the former president when it comes to the issue of reproductive rights. She's generally higher nationwide as well, but not as high as Hillary Clinton was back in 2016. So that's a cause for concern for them. I do want to say the focus of this tour is also, quote, directly holding Donald Trump accountable for the devastating impact of overturning Roe v. Wade, including threatening access to IVF. Now, they're going to talk about IVF, but the problem with that is Donald Trump came out recently and said that he hopes, if president, to make IVF accessible for all Americans under a federal law and for insurance companies to pay for them. So that's something that the Trump campaign is trying to move towards the middle. And despite this, the Harris campaign is going to be targeting the former president's camp regarding this. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all those updates, Susan. Let's focus now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu finds himself at the receiving end of fresh internal and international condemnation. This after bodies of 6 Hamas-held hostages in Gaza were recovered on Sunday. However, Bibi remains defiant and has once again, in his signature style, vowed to see the end of Hamas, even after calls for resignations across Israel are reverberating. Take a look at our report.
After the Sunday recovery of bodies of 6 Hamas-held hostages in Gaza, Netanyahu is in the eye of another storm. The incident has reignited protests across Israel. Protesters are voicing their anger at the government's failure to reach a ceasefire agreement and hostage release deals with Hamas. The nationwide strike continues for the third day, and the anger is palpable.
We're demanding a deal, a hostage deal, to get everyone out. We're demanding from the government to stop putting anything that is in the way of having a deal. We don't want it in any other way, because in any other way, people are losing their lives.
The resistance is not only limited to Israel. Big Brother America also thinks that Netanyahu needs to do more, and President Joe Biden has made his stance clear. He wants Netanyahu to do more.
Mr. President, if you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue, do you think he's doing enough? No.
However, Bibi seems unfettered. It was clear from his Sunday's address after hostage bodies were recovered and pressure began mounting on his administration. According to reports, they were killed not long before the Israeli army's arrival. 3 days on, an unrelenting Netanyahu is only doubling down on his stance. He has slammed UK's suspension of some Israeli arms sales as shameful and claims that the move will embolden a genocidal Hamas. Remember, even the British government is facing growing backlash over its unaccounted support to Israel. Not only this, he has also rejected calls to soften his demand to keep troops in the southern Gazan border area as the price for a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu says his forces will not vacate the Philadelphia corridor. Almost 11 months into the war, there is but bleak hope for renaming hostages' safe return as the Israeli Prime Minister carries on his mission to eliminate Hamas at any cost, even if it means putting lives of Israelis and other nationals on the line. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let's focus to the United Kingdom now. It has been over 2 months since Tories faced their worst electoral defeat in the United Kingdom. Rishi Sunak agreed that Conservatives need a new face, but so far the Tories have done only so much. The campaigning began this week, and the latest entry is by former Security Minister Tom Tugendhat. He started his speech by apologising for his party's election performance and then promised a changed Tory party.
I will make the Conservative Party a serious force again. I will make us respected for our experience and our realism, admired for our integrity, acknowledged for our achievements, and given credit for seeing the errors that we may make and correcting them. Now, by doing that, I believe that I will lead our party back to power.
Tugendhat is one of 6 candidates vying to lead the Conservatives. The others are former Business and Trade Minister Kemi Badenoch, former Interior Ministers James Cleverly and Priti Patel, former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, and former Work and Pensions Minister Mel Stride. Tomorrow, that's Wednesday, the party's elected lawmakers will narrow that field to 4 candidates, and further ballots will be held on October 9th and 10th to whittle it down to 2. The final 2 will be put forward to an all-party members' vote, and Rishi Sunak's successor will be announced on 2nd of November. And as Sri Lanka gears up for a crucial presidential election, the country's election commission has laid down a clear mandate with respect to campaign expenditures. Just on Monday, Sri Lanka's Commissioner General of Elections said that any presidential candidate who defies the limitations stated under the Expenditure Act will be disqualified from the race. And that's not all. The candidate can also potentially lose their civic right for up to 3 years. This is the first time that Sri Lanka's presidential elections have come under the ambit of campaign finance regulations. Since the law was implemented in January last year, as per the official notification, each contesting candidate is authorized to incur total expenses not exceeding approximately $5 million. In another development, the Commonwealth has decided to deploy an observer group to Sri Lanka after the country officially invited several organizations and blocs for the September 21st election. According to an official notification by the Commonwealth, the 14-member observer group will be in Sri Lanka from 15th to 27th of September. Now, correspondent Dasunia Thauda has more on this from Colombo.
With less than 3 weeks to go for Sri Lanka's presidential election, the country's election commission stands firm that any and all candidates who overspend beyond the stipulated budget per candidate will face the risk of being disqualified from contesting. That's not all. Election monitors from the European Union are in the country and will be observing the island nation's entire election process from start to finish and will be compiling a final report shortly after the conclusion of the country's presidential election. Reporting for WION World is one from Colombo. I'm Lasmia Gowder.
And moving on, Germany's Alternative for Germany party, also known as the AfD, has become the first far-right party to win the German state election since 1945. The result has sent shockwaves across Germany. Experts say that social media platform TikTok played a huge role in securing an AfD victory. As per reports, the party was twice as effective at reaching first-time voters on the application than all other parties combined. According to Infratest DMAP, a German polling company, around 38% of voters aged between 18 to 24 years of age voted for the AfD. Experts say AfD's popularity is due to its strong presence on the social media application TikTok. According to a poll published in April, AfD is the most favoured party among young people aged 14 to 29, double than what it was last year. To analyze the relationship between TikTok and young voters, the Infratest DMAP team created 30 fake TikTok profiles of German users born in 2006 and living in Thuringia, Saxony, and Brandenburg. They analyzed more than 75,000 videos that appeared in their feeds. It was found that in the weeks leading up to the vote, AFD-related content reached a much larger audience on TikTok than content related to other political parties. In fact, on average, 9 AFD content videos showed up per week as compared to just one video of other political parties. At the same time, researchers observed that the number of videos appearing in user feeds did not correlate with the total amount of content created by the parties. Experts say one reason could be that a network of well-connected right-wing influencers on TikTok shared AFD content and helped amplify it. Another could be that the majority of AFD candidates, more than any other party, are themselves active on the platform. Meanwhile, it was found that the pro-AFD content on TikTok ranged from clips of political speeches to emotional videos on topics such as immigration and seemingly non-political content such as travel or cooking videos.
Die Partei verliert mehr als die Hälfte.
All right, let's take a look at what else is making headlines in the world of elections and politics. Senegal's parliament has rejected a draft amendment of the country's constitution tabled by the new leadership. Lawmakers have slammed down a potential step taken towards dissolving the opposition-dominated chamber after a heated debate on Monday. Senegal's president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was elected in March this year, does not have a majority in the National Assembly. The legislature was elected in 2022 and supporters of ex-President Macky Sall still hold sway, freely on the basis of a numerical majority in the parliament. The National Assembly cannot be dissolved by the president until it has sat for at least 2 years. Myanmar's military junta has announced that it will conduct a national census of residents and households in October. The census data, which will be collected between October 1st to 15th, will be used to hold general elections next year, as promised by the military government. In Botswana, the ruling party BDP unveiled its manifesto on Sunday ahead of general elections that are slated to be held in October. Incumbent president, 63-year-old President Masisi, is seeking another term in office. And while addressing a massive gathering at the Royal Area Stadium, Masisi called the party's manifesto a blueprint for a future in which citizens can thrive. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at wion.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. Now, Kiev has said that a Russian missile attack on the central Ukrainian city of Poltava has resulted in deaths of at least 47 people in what has been dubbed as one of the deadliest strikes of Moscow's 2.5-year invasion. At least about 12 migrants have died off the northern French coast who are trying to cross the channel to England, with a major rescue operation underway after the deadliest such disaster this year. And China's Xi Jinping meets with the presidents of Kenya, Zimbabwe and other African nations at the 2024 summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing. Now, some small protests were staged in the Mongolian capital of Ulaanbaatar as the Russian leader Vladimir Putin paid a rare visit, despite an international warrant for his arrest.